Ooh, it's character building. Hello and welcome to It's Character Building,
A show where we pick a theme,
and then we go away and build Pathfinder Second Edition characters based on that theme.
and then we come back and chat about them with an artist who helps bring them to life. Today, our artist is our most spooky friend, Emily. And we have our lovely guest, Luke, who you may recognize from Realignment.
Today's theme is haunted characters, and as you can see, we've all dressed as spookily as possible. This is the darkest shirt I own. How is everyone? Doing well?
Feeling ghoulish.
Feeling good.
Feeling ghoulish. So, Luke, when did you start playing Pathfinder?
I started playing Pathfinder about the first time that I met G, which might be about 7 or 6 years ago now. We played First Edition, and I was just completely hooked on that. So I've just kept on making characters in First Edition and Second Edition. And yeah, for some reason, I always seem to make a cleric. So I'm gonna
Yes.
not do that.
Well versed in the makings of clerics, this one.
Well, why don't we get straight into our characters that we've built today?
Yes, our haunted characters. Maybe, Ebony, you want to start us off?
Sure, I will begin. So I've built a very dramatic character.
Surprising absolutely no one.
Big on the drama, this one. This is for, high tragedy, high drama campaign. But I have built an elf barbarian, actually, which you might think is a bit of a weird combination. I mean, you can build whatever you want. But specifically, I've built a spirit instinct barbarian, which is really cool. The way that they say it is that you are like sensitive to spirits around you, or that your rage may like present itself as possession, which is how my character's rage presents itself.
Cool. Well, let's not get too far into mechanics just yet. What's your name? No?
You know what I forgot to pick?
Are you joking me?
You know what? I feel like they don't have one
They just don't have a name.
anymore. They probably had one.
Ooh.
What it is now is probably a little bit
All right, well,
lost or unclear.
Maybe tell us about your the character, and we could try and name.
You can
them.
try him. All right. Well, the backstory, that their origin, is that they are actually a former cultist, or that they were in a cult and they were actually the sacrifice to a dark force and spirit. And they were successfully sacrificed, unfortunately. But in the process, they were possessed and brought back as a Duskwalker. So I went with cultist, just so I like to think as far as position in this party, they kind of have I've kind of statted them a little bit in deception and kind of infiltration and stealth stuff.
Spooky.
Because they're
As a barbarian.
As a barbarian.
A stealth barbarian.
Yeah. So it's an interesting mix, because their barbarian aspects are a hidden aspect of their own personality because they're possessed. So when they go into a rage, it's not the character, it's the dark force that resides within them.
I just imagine a lot of internalized rage as well, like a lot of screaming inside, which is
In a barbarian?
I have such a clear image of their rage. I do imagine if they're in a combat situation and they do rage, that there's just this dark hulking figure that out throughout their body like a miasma. Very scary.
Oh.
internal rage into external rage. Nice.
Yeah.
What are they possessed by? Is it a known thing? Do you know?
I think it's a spirit. I do think it's specifically potentially an ancestral dark elf, sort of maybe a lich.
I imagine an elf barbarian. My brain has a real problem with that combination. I'm like, elves, barbarian.
Well, that's the thing. I imagine them as quite thin and sort of gaunt. I mean, possession, it really takes a toll on you. As quite thin and gaunt. And the weapons that they fight with are a temple sword, which I like to imagine is the sword that they were sacrificed with, and a spike chain, which I also like to imagine was part of their sacrificial ritual. So very revenge-driven character here. And the cool thing about Spirit Instinct barbarians is that when you're raging, your weapons and your unarmored strikes actually acquire the properties of having like a ghost touch rune. Yeah, so they're like specifically a sort of ghost hunting revenge driven character.
Ghost that hates ghosts.
Ghost that hates ghosts. Well, elf that hates ghosts. Possessed by ghost who probably enjoys being a ghost. You'd have to ask them. And I do also imagine that this elf is not very well upkept. Duskwalkers are really strange. There's a lot of...
Offensive.
Well, no, reside in like a strange kind of area of purpose, and like some of them can not know they're Duskwalkers at all, and some of them are very clear. And the original soul that resided within this body doesn't have a super clear idea of what's going on, but I feel like they do feel the driving purpose, which is to seek, at least personally, revenge, and also for, in a greater way, set things to right and remove unwanted spirits from the planes of the world.
What does this character look like?
I think they're very long, very lean, classic elven, and like I said, quite gaunt. I think probably quite long hair. And like we're talking like classically haunted. I think, yeah, probably even still in their sacrificial robes maybe, or some equivalent, like very spooky. I told you it was a high drama character.
I'm believing you now.
And like I like to think that they probably wear their chain like draped over their shoulder and like tied around their waist and then, you know, to access when in need. Now that I think of it, I didn't really find a name or a clear like personality for this character, because I think they're very lost. I mean, on another aspect, I don't even potentially they never had a name either. If they were raised in this cult, which I like to expect, they were sacrificed from the start. That was their purpose. They were to be the vessel for the dark spirit of this cult.
I thought I like wrote a pretty like dark.
Gruesome.
I mean, it is a haunted episode, but Jesus.
Hey, some stories are dark.
So, names for this guy. We've heard like the backstory. Any ideas?
For some reason, the only thing that comes to mind is grasshopper. Like that might be like the title for that level of the
sacrifice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe their name is just the sacrifice.
The sacrifice.
Saki.
I was Saki.
I kind of imagine, like, not to make it too serious, but I kind of imagine if you're in a cult and you're going to be sacrificed, you'd almost have a noun for a name, or like some kind of thing that's not actually a name,
Meat.
like hope, or like,
Oh god,
you know, something,
ironic.
yeah, something like
The
that.
husk.
Husk,
the vessel. Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I feel like I like that a noun. Hope is good. Hope is fun, especially seeing as it seems to be quite an evil cult that they come from. So I think hope's a nice switch.
Juxtaposition.
Nice, the old switcheroo.
Nice. I love that. Was there anything specific about the spirit instinct barbarian that you wanted to talk about?
I really like the idea of this dark possessing force being the aspect of their rage, and also the way that the character interacts with their rage. So I took Moment of Clarity, which is a classic barbarian feat, which means you can use concentrate things like spells. So I have a few cantrips that my character can use, specifically stuff from being an elf, and then
Elf magic? Yeah, great.
Elf magic, and
How do you spells?
and a few other things as well. So the main cantrips that I have are detect magic, just because it's classic and useful in all situations. And I also took what is it called? Gale Blast, as well as the one that I like, because I like the idea of it as instead of, I mean, it is air, but skin it as like an energy force to push back and create some distance in combat as well.
And shoving everyone around you would be pretty handy in combat.
Very
if you're a barbarian.
spooky. The other barbarian feats that I took are Furious Finish, which is a great one, and it's flavor-wise is pouring everything that you have into one final attack, and I like to imagine it's harnessing that dark energy to make a finishing blow. And the other one is No Escape, which is terrifying.
Yeah, it's a good,
really scary feat. I don't like it at all.
Really good for kiting enemies.
Yeah, so No Escape is basically if your foe tries to move away from you, you follow them and you stride until they cannot get away, or until your move speed runs out. But theirs
You
will
stride up to your
probably
move speed to
run
match-
out
to
before.
match them.
So they literally, you keep them within arm's
Just chase
reach,
them down.
which is especially scary when you're a barbarian.
Yeah, right.
I took a really simple and classic magic item because I felt like that it was fitting, which is the Hand of the Magi. Magi?
Magi?
Maggie. Maggie's hand, which is a gnarled, petrified elf hand, which allows you...
A spooky elf with a spooky petrified elf hand.
Spooky little petrified elf hand. I imagine it like hangs on their belt or something. And it just lets you cast Mage Hand for freeze. As a classic spooky hovering, grab that item over there, thanks very much. And I imagine they probably just nicked it from the cult that they were in.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Luke, why don't you tell us what you have brought to the table?
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So I have brought a automaton. Would you like a description, Emily, of what an automaton looks
I would love a
like?
description of that, please. Please and thank you.
So his name is Slate 4. Slate 4 has long limbs with massive sheets of metal bashed inwards and dented to look like bones. He has...
Jeez.
I take back everything I said about your character, Ebony.
He has where his rib cage originally was.
I think the word you're looking for is chassis.
You're trying to kill me with this.
Yeah, it's a haunted episode. You're haunted by these drawings that you
where
have to make.
Where his ribs are, there's vents for air to go in and out.
It's pretty cool.
His core is a classic circular window. Inside, you can see a little bit of clockwork, but mostly just a green arcing electric light, as automatons always have to have a core.
Like Iron Man.
That's their weak spot. If you hit them there 3 times when they're stunned, you kill them.
So you built a Necron.
Yeah, kind of.
So what makes Slate 4 haunted?
So that's mostly his lore. Automatons can be thousands of years old, and Slate 4 particularly has been around for so long that he's just forgotten that he is a human, and people have manipulated him to become just this killer and this hunter. And so one day he goes and kills innocents. He doesn't know that.
He was just following his directive.
Just following his directive. But
Kill all humans.
But this last innocent, as a sacrifice, cursed Slate 4 as blood spilled over their chassis. A psychopomp Eidolon, a angel of death, came and revealed Slate 4's sanity again. So he is cursed with the knowledge that he has.
So he's haunted by his own past.
Oh yeah, he's haunted by his own past. Also,
Classic.
also an angel of death is just like, don't forget what you did, man.
Eidolon contact background then at all?
What?
There is a background called
Yeah,
Eidolon contact.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got.
Nice.
Might have built a few characters.
Yeah, with
in my
that.
time.
So Eidolon contact is that they have a bit of history with an Eidolon. This one in particular is a psychopomp.
And really hates them. Nice.
Yeah. I think a psychopomp is perfect for like 1,000-year-old robot,
Killer
alive
robot,
killer person
yeah.
because psychopomps are the agents of the god of Pharasma, and Pharasma just hates when people don't die. Like
Yeah.
they're
So
all-
are they like partially kind of cyborg? Like we're human and we're just slowly replaced over time, and now they're just fully an automaton?
yeah.
Yikey.
Are you able to put that into the aesthetic somehow, Emily?
Maybe they still have.
I think does he have any element of like his humanity left on his style
One
and his
eyeball.
design? One eyeball?
His head particularly, he has like a knight's visor, like very boxy with just one glowing red visor eye.
Do you want to know where my brain went when you said one red? I thought RoboCop.
Very that.
Very that?
I was
Very
about to
that.
say no.
Oh,
I don't want to know.
No?
But yeah, maybe I have seen RoboCop.
Everyone should see RoboCop.
Back on the hook.
Yeah.
It's very cool the way I think you've used Eidolon contact there, because the immediate jump is always going to be player summoner, and your Eidolon contact was the first time you met your Eidolon. That's your background. Easy peasy. But it's really cool to have the Eidolon contact come in a way that like brought their humanity back, which is very spooky.
Yeah.
So does it continue to haunt them?
I would very much hope so. I think it's like definitely a driving force for this character to be like doing better than they were doing before.
Yeah, their haunting of the deeds of their past has driven them to become a
That's
pure
very wholesome
path.
for one of the most horrifying character concepts I've ever heard.
A little bit of that. Yeah.
So what
Not
class are you playing?
Oh, yeah, of course. So Slate 4 is a ranger. They just were designed for tracking people down, being kind of an unstoppable force to do that. But I didn't want to go the ancestry of a hunter automaton, because a hunter automaton very specifically is quadrupedal when they run.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
hunt
they
people.
have there's like an animalistic automaton. Yeah, very cool.
Which is terrifying, but I don't want
Very
to.
scary.
Yeah, I don't want to give Emily a quadruped. Like, I don't think she could handle that.
Ooh.
You don't know.
No, I'm kidding. I just imagine.
I would have to change my entire drawing if you made it into a quadruped, so please don't.
Yeah, no. He's
so which automata did you?
so he's a warrior automaton,
Yeah.
which gives him a better punch, is what I remember, and
Indeed.
and he stands on two legs.
Thank God.
Define a feature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just back to like how he has the visor. That visor is actually like smashed on with like big bolts. I would
Okay,
say,
so
like,
coming out the side?
Yeah.
Like
several ones like.
So he's got a.
He's very.
so it's a
It sounds
full-
like he's very
full head mask,
misshapen.
and it's been bolted on.
Yeah.
Great.
that's funky.
I think
I
you
mean,
mean
by
awful.
great, I mean awful.
I'm going to try not to make it look like Shrek.
Thank
That's
you.
the main thing. I think.
like
Goal
Shrek.
numero uno, not Shrek.
That's right.
I really like the idea that that you've gone with like a automaton ranger and making those like classic ranger skills like mechanical or like robotically or automatonically
Oh yeah.
enhanced.
Automatically.
Enhanced, and that they're not like learned skills but programmed
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Aesthetic and lore wise, I couldn't take anything that was like beast related or like nature related. Like it's all about him just trying to hunt people down.
Yeah, it really like narrows your choices. How did you go with
Especially
that?
the hunter, yeah.
Yeah, so feat-wise, I took everything that has to do with tracking people down and being this unstoppable force to find them and then kill them. So there's a lot of like favored terrain and keen follower, so that keen follower is more about following anyone. But favored terrain is all about knowing where people are in specific terrains, like
And not taking penalties in difficult terrain as well.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because you have terrifying robot limbs.
What sort of fighting style? So you ranger, you've got like twin weapon fighting, bows.
Yeah, I've got twin weapon fighting.
Ooh.
Is it your hands?
No. I'm sorry.
Warrior automaton, not taken for any purpose.
Just for the two legs.
Yeah, just sort of like it made sense narratively.
Yeah, totally.
But no, he fights with two scimitars, long.
Description, please. Yes.
I was about to. So the scimitars are long and short, and just at the end they taper to curve backwards, so they're like a single blade. That kind of. So he uses twin fighting with these two scimitars, and he also has twin parry to.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. Two hands, two swords, better defense. My favorite I think would be at 4th level. He's got Disrupt Prey, which is anytime someone makes a move action or a manipulate action, they get an extra reactionary attack, which is fucking cool.
Well, not anyone, just your hunted prey, I believe.
Yes,
You're like,
hunted
yeah,
prey.
you're marked.
Yeah, which is perfect.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah, very cool if you're gonna assassinate someone.
Yeah, look, you always make such tortured characters.
You really do.
But they just mean well.
Is that why so many clerics?
I have like a super important question. Does he wear shoes?
Does he have
No,
does he have feet?
Got robot.
Yeah, he's got robot
Got
footsies.
robot.
Does he have like individual toes?
Or is he just stumps or spikes?
Yeah, what's
I
going on
imagine
here?
like you know, like
Robots
almost,
are scary,
I imagine
man.
almost like bird feet, like two sharp but square front toes, and then one back toe for stability.
Funky.
Bird feet.
Bird
Yeah.
feet.
I don't like that at all.
I don't like any of it.
So for the item of the day, I chose Tracker's goggles, which I realize fits perfectly aesthetically already because it could just be that visor on his head.
Totally.
Tracker's goggles give +1 bonus to survival checks to sense direction and track. If you fail a check to track, you can try again after 30 minutes rather than an hour.
So the prey has less time to get away if you missed out on tracking them.
Yeah.
Okay. Tyler, what's your character?
I have built a young lad by the name of Krorg. Krorg is a hobgoblin. And
He looks stressed, Emily.
Yeah, what's a hobgoblin?
they tend to be larger, tougher, smarter goblins. They're very militaristic and familiarly bonded. So they often work together for like a group cause or work together on like war campaigns. Very much like every hobgoblin for every other hobgoblin. But yeah, they tend to have anywhere from green to like more tan colored skin. Very tough, very resistant. Krog specifically is a steel skin hobgoblin who, when they are cut or burned, they form tough but flexible calluses over the site of the injury. So whenever they're wounded, they effectively just get very thick scar tissue. So he's pretty bulky, but rather than because of lots of fighting, although hobgoblins are trained from very young ages to fight, he's just very clumsy. because unfortunately, young Krog is 14 years old, and which is
He is young.
He's getting up. He's young, but for a hobgoblin, it's not that young.
Is
Do
that
they not
middle
live
age?
that long?
I'm not sure.
Or do they just age
specifically.
quickly?
I'm going to say that it's slightly faster than humans, and he's not that young. But he has just been named the seer, the new seer of the tribe.
Oh, no.
With the seer of the dead background, he is an oracle. He is specifically an ancestors mystery oracle. Poor young Krog is now carries the burden of being the living connection between the hobgoblin clan's dead ancestors and their living ones. Unfortunately, the previous seer died a little too soon, and he wasn't fully finished his training. I wanted to reflect the level 4 nature of the character a little bit. And so he's constantly haunted by spirits of his ancestors. So he has a pack of hobgoblins constantly whispering in his ear. And it's pretty...
Awful.
I mean, yeah, probably pretty unpleasant.
It suits the episode.
Yeah.
What does he fight?
He
Oh
does...
no, he's just clumsy.
he still fights using a morning star and a shield. So I wanted to still have some sort of combat basics for him because he's still a hobgoblin. But as an oracle, he also obviously gets spell casting. And with the ancestors mystery, it means that he is constantly haunted. But when he makes actions with the curse-bound trait, his curse advances one step. And his curse is that he actually has one of those ancestors take control. And so whenever you perform an action while curse-bound, you have to roll a 1d4, and one of style of ancestor takes control of one of 3, and then on the 4th one you can choose. And they grant boons, such as the martial one gives you a +1 to status bonus to your strikes, and that increases. But it also means that they will decide that you should strike instead of doing something else.
Whatever else you wanted to do.
Exactly. So they will literally stop you doing the things that you set out to do.
And that's up to the GM's discretion?
No, you roll it, and you aren't allowed to make roleplay decisions that are actions that are not aligned with what your ancestor wants you to do.
Oh, no.
Which is partially why young Krog is so clumsy, because he's constantly struggling with who's leading his actions, because he's not really got a hold on
So every once in a while, a cranky ancient general takes over and makes decisions for him.
Hit him! So I took a couple of things, everything from the basis up, because I remembered this was a thing. I was like, building an Ancestors Oracle. I just wanted to support that character. So he has a wooden shield, padded armor. Feat-wise, I took one that's really cool is Divine Aegis, which is a reaction that allows you to get more get circumstance bonuses against non-divine magic, but you have a negative against divine magic. So if you're fighting anyone but divine spellcasters, you're going to be able to resist their magic better. Shield block, because he's got a shield. And he's pretty trained in intimidation as well, because he's a hobgoblin, and he's got to be a scary guy because he's the seer.
Yeah. What kind of class feats did you take from your oracle
So I
class?
took Divine Aegis, there's the one, and then at 4th level I took Vision of Weakness. So you get a +2 status bonus to your next attack roll against that foe before the end of your turn. So it's a one action to basically be like, I'm going to hit you. And of course, the skinning of that is that he's got all his ancestors being like, hit him in the balls. That'll get him. The domain for his spells is Death. So he has Death's Call and Ancestral Touch as focus spells.
Nice.
They're both pretty standard. Ancestral Touch is a touch damage attack. That's because they they see all the ancestors surrounding you. You can be like, spooked. And Death Call...
Which would be awful. It would be like 20 hobgoblins now surround you.
Yeah. Well, you think you're alone with this oracle. He's giving you some advice, and he's like, oh, by the way. Full-blown haunted. And Death's Call is really funny. It's a reaction that you get if somebody near you dies or is reduced to a living or undead creature. And you get temporary hit points because you're invigorated by their death.
So in your goblin tribe, where does the seer belong? Like, are they an advisor? Are they a warrior mage?
I saw it as the seer advises the tribe and it is basically this conduit. So it's not so much he's got advice, which is why the hobgoblins don't care that he's 14. They're like, you're the one who can see them. We can't see them. So you've got to let us know what the tribe should do. Exactly. They want to call on past chieftains and past seers even to get their wisdom.
That's rough.
Yeah, it'd be a real crap job, to be honest.
Oh, gosh.
Spell-wise, there's a couple that I thought were really cool. He's got some weapon boosting spells, magic weapon, spiritual weapon. Concordant Choir I really loved because you unleash a dangerous consonance of reverberating sound, which you can either... It's up to 3 actions, and it's different for each one. But I imagine that as, again, like a spooky choir. Like the band of hobgoblins joined in. So
terrible.
It's an eerie, spooky ghost hobgoblin song. And the other one that is just horrifying is just bone spray. You fire a torrent of jagged bone shards from your hands. I really love that there's another vein of spellcaster that you can be like, they're spooky, but without being inherently evil spooky. Like, yes, he can shoot a spray of bones from his hands, but it's only because he's doing a good job.
He's just trying to get along in his life with his 20 undead ancestors haunting him. What did you take?
So I picked a Grim Sand Glass, which is an item that was just added, I believe, in Secrets of Magic. It's called a Spell Heart. So Spell Hearts basically function like talismans, but rather than being one use, they're permanent items that you can... that just have innate effects. So he's got a little, it hangs off the end of his morning star, and it allows you to cast Chill Touch. So you cast a spell to activate the Grim Sandglass, which adds an additional 1d4 negative damage when you activate the hourglass before you attack.
If they were in the modern day and were moviegoers, what kind of horror movie would be their favorites?
I think Krog would like cheese, like real cheese, but like comedy horrors, where it's so over the top that it becomes, because he doesn't really, there's too much real horror in his everyday life, so he just would like a real
Shaun of the Dead.
A real, Shaun of the Dead, or
some B-rated horror movie.
even like
Nice.
Yeah. I imagine Slate 4 just hating horrors. Absolutely.
just Terminator.
Yeah. Probably.
He likes romance.
I do that.
I suppose zombie movies would be like
Familiar territory.
Yeah.
Apex Legends cinematics.
I would say probably the Nameless one wouldn't like horror movies at all and would in fact avoid them like the plague. I feel like they need calming, like soothing, calming period pieces, maybe. Slow paced, nothing that gets their heart rate up too high.
So I think we should wrap it there. Thank you so much, Luke, for coming, and thank you, Emily, for being our artist for today's episode.
And keep your eye out for our next episode, which will be level 5 tacky characters.
And if you want to join us on our Discord, the link is in the description.
See you guys. Catch
See
you next time. Hijinks accepts no responsibility for any nightmares that may occur after the viewing of this episode of ICB.